Let's rock.
Hey, I think we are live. Hey, so welcome to this fourth episode of the Rust Live coding sessions with the B team. During this session, we have in the call we have Alexander Schmidt and Joshua Barreto and myself, of course.
Hello.
Can you hear us well in the chat? No response. I'll assume people hear us. Let's maybe wait a couple of minutes so that people can join.
I've just checked the stream and the audio seems to be good.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, someone answered as well.
Perfect.
All right, anyway, I think we'll start. So the topic of this week is global snapshots. If you don't really know what a global snapshot is, I have an example here. So basically what it is, it's just a file. It's a file that contains all the balances that exist in the IOTA ledger. So the format of this file is pretty simple. That's just on each line you have an address in bytes, a semicolon, and the balance of the address. So we used to use global snapshots back in the time when we didn't have local snapshots. We did use them to allow node owners to be able to have a fresh start for their database so that the database doesn't get too big. So we did that periodically back in the time, but when we introduced local snapshots, it wasn't necessary anymore. It may be necessary at some point within Chrysalis, where at some point there may be breaking changes that would need a new global snapshot to happen. So we didn't implement it yet in B. So that's what I'm going to do now. As suggested last week by a community developer, I'll try to do that in a TDD fashion, so test-driven development. So we'll first start by writing some tests, and then we'll try to pass everything by actually implementing the feature. So yeah, let's try to do that. So we have this crate, this snapshot. At the moment, we only have local snapshots, not fully implemented as well, but the parsing of the local snapshot according to the Hornet format is done. So that's the only thing we have at the moment in this crate, and we are going to implement the global version. All right, let's start. So I'm going to start with a test folder and a global file. Just going to copy paste the copyright. Oops. All right. So yeah, so what we want to do first is to understand how this parsing can break. So if we take a look at this file, we want to understand every condition that can happen to make it break. So what we'll do is to maybe start with a function that would just a test that would just be valid. So that would be our initial case. But then what can happen? So first, what can happen when parsing a file is that the file doesn't exist, it just doesn't exist. So our first invalid case would be file not found. All right. Now if we look at one of these lines, the most important thing of this format is that it's separated by a semicolon. So that's basically a CSV file. So what can happen is that there is no semicolon for some reason. So we can maybe do that. Missing semicolon. since it's a CSV, it could be generated, there could be an error while generating it, so it could have, for example, one more semicolon or another column or whatever. So we have missing semicolon, but we could have, how do I call that, extraneous semicolon. That's something that could happen. Then, if that's fine, we end up with two fields, the address and the balance. So we want to validate them independently. So we are going to validate the address first. What could happen with an address? So it's supposed to be outright. So what could happen is that there is a character in the string that is not outright. Invalid address right. Now if the address is all valid right, what can happen to make it not an address? So now you can only change the length. So it could be outright, but it could be not the length of an address, which is 81 tries. So invalid address length. Alright, so now the address should be fine. We are now looking at the balance. What could happen with the balance? So there could be an invalid character as well in the address. So that could be just invalid balance. Now the balance could be fine in character-wise, but it could be, for example, negative for some reason. So we do a test as well. Negative balance. What could happen? It could be, what could it be? It could, yeah, alright. It could overflow, for example. Overflow. Invalid balance, negative balance, overflow balance. Alright. So now a line should be fine. What could happen? The next thing that can happen is that that's a snapshot file, so it's supposed to represent the state of the ledger, and the ledger has a finite amount of tokens. So the sum of all the balances should have this specific supply. So we'll test the supply.
Do we have a specification for this format anyway?
That's a good question.
So I'm wondering if, say, you're allowed to add an extra space or something in between the semicolon.
I don't think it's formalized yet. It will be by an RFC in B at some point, but I'm not sure it's formalized or whatever. But I don't think we expect spaces or whatever. But yeah, we can probably. Yeah, that's a nice one. Alright, sure. How do I call
that? Maybe additional white space or additional padding.
Sure. Additional padding. If you have ideas on the chat of what could go wrong, please tell us. Additional spaces, white spaces. All right. So that's all the errors we want to handle at this point. We don't have any API yet, so I'll just have to draft at least what the API would look like so that I can commit.
Another thing you might have is Windows style new lines.
Oh.
So you might have a difference in new line format.
Interesting.
Hopefully Rust should deal with that if you're iterating over the lines in the string, but still it's a thing to think about, I think.
Different new line. Alright, yeah, I have a feeling it could be handled by Rust. I don't know, we'll see. I think I have a utility to, Unix to DOS, or I assume I have the other one, DOS to Unix, so I may be able to test that. Cool. Oh yeah, so now, it's not finished. So what we want to do is to actually create a file for each of them. That would be the specific error. So valid.txt. So what I'm going to do is to generate some random tries. Let's say 3. Oops. Alright. I'm just going to that. And what's the supply? Where is the supply? There. Alright, so what I do is just do something like that, and remove the 2. Wait, I'm going to do that. This one, and oops. Alright, so now I will just split the amount in 3 different balances, so the snapshot should be fine. So this one should pass, so that will be this one. This one we are not going to create it, so I'm just going to copy paste valid, rename it missing semicolon. I'm just going to remove one. Alright, I'm going to copy paste valid again, call it extra name semicolon. We put one here, for example. Invalid address try, so I'm going to copy paste again. Invalid address try, alright. And I will replace something by not a try, so I put an arrowbars here. An at. Copy paste again, invalid address length. Alright, and that would be just adding some tries, but valid ones. Alright, copy paste again. Invalid balance, and that would be having a weird character in the balance. Next one, negative balance. Negative balance. Just adding the minus somewhere. Next one is overflow. How do I do that? Just adding a bunch of zeros. Should be fine. Next one is invalid supply. Duplicate. Just replacing a 0 by 1 should end up in not the correct supply. Additional, alright, or not. Yeah, so I'm not sure about this one, because if I do that, yeah. So I'm not sure if we want that to be legal or illegal. I'm tempted to say it should be legal. So if it's illegal, I would not try to trim the strings. I would just give that to the tries, and it would be discovered as an unknown try, so it should fail. But what if it's there? I assume the parsing of the balance would fail as well. All right, let's see that a bit later. And then, oh, interesting. Duplicate different. All right, so I will keep this one valid, but I will apply something on it. Oops. Test. Oops. Where am I? Oh. Snapshot test file. Unix to DOS on different. All right. Just checking. Yeah, so it's all weird at the end, so it means that compared to something else, yeah, so the endings are different, so we see how Rust deals with that. Alright, I think we are good to start, unless someone has ideas in the chat. Alright, let's try that. New folder, global, new file, not a mess. Let's just cd-run. Ah, they're not. Cool. Alright, so we are going to create a new public structure called global snapshot, which is basically just a state, which is a snapshot state. That's something shared between local snapshots and global snapshots. So that's this one, which is basically just a hash map of addresses and U64. Use the oops. Alright, so let's import that. Alright, so the main API is just a way to create a global snapshot from a file. So I'm just going to add a function from file. That would take a path, returning a result of self and an error. Alright, so let's create a state and return itself. Okay. So this is not added yet. Alright. So what's failing? Alright. Then oops. State. What? Yes. So now I need to create an error type with a new error. So what I'm going to do is just taking all that. Whoops. Alright, so I'm just going to rename them. Yeah, so there is probably a shortcut to do that. Overflow balance. Invalid address length. Try it. Yes. Semicolon. Alright. Cool. I guess we can start. So now we have our API. We know what it looks like. We have all the errors, so I think we can start with that. So what we want to do is to first import use the snapshot global snapshot. Whoops. All right, so global snapshot from file, and that would be something txt. So does that work? So now I want to assert that this is equal. I want to check that the error is equal to something, so I also need to import the error. I want to check that this is something yeah, something like that. Let's not start by valid. Alright, so that would be I don't have file not found. File not found. So that would be file not found. Why doesn't it work?
You're also going to want to derive partial equal
yes.
on that type.
Yes, absolutely. So since we want to compare errors, we need to have a way to compare them. You can do that quite quickly by just deriving egg and partial egg. I'm missing. Oh no, I was not. So what's up? Alright, so .r is returning an option. And I did debug as well. Yeah, so that's working. So let's call it just file not found. I think we can just replicate. Yeah, no, let's leave it out for now. I think we can just replicate that. Alright, but just by changing, so I have conveniently named the files as such as the actual function, so I can just copy paste the name. Alright, and now I just have to change the error, so that would be missing semicolon, extra null semicolon, invalid address right, invalid address length, invalid balance, inverted balance, overflow balance, invalid supply, additional workspace, and different one. Alright, I think we are all set up. This one, if I'm not found, doesn't have any file with this name, but that's the purpose of the test. Let's try to run that. Alright, interesting. So what's up? So I get none. Why do I get none? Because there is no error. Interesting. So now I can probably just start coding the feature. Yeah, so basically I just want to open the file and read it line by line. Alright, that's what I wanted. Probably need some views. All right. So let's call that file open. That would be the path. So this one, I want to transform the error of file opening to. Sorry.
You can use the map error method.
Yeah. Sorry, I was going to do that. So I want to map the error. Oops. I want to map the error to home. So that would be error file not found. And I want to check. Now in my file, I would call that reader. So I should be able to start seeing some addresses and balances. I'm not.
I think you got a typo.
Oh. No, alright, yeah, I think yeah, of course. Yeah, you have to give the full pass. Test files, yeah. Yeah, because the tests are executed at the root of the crate, so it's not able to find the files because they are in two folders. Alright, so we see some balances and addresses now. Some addresses and balances. We have two passing, so which is not expected. I was expecting only one. Which is the one? The file not found is obviously passing because the file is not found. Oh, that's the valid one. Yeah, I haven't done this one. So this one should. Alright, so I should. Alright, I'll just get the state and just check its length, and it should be 3. I'll just do something like that. Unwrap. I think it's fine to unwrap on the test because it's not. Oh, it's not supposed to be there. It's not. It's supposed to be valid. So if it panics, well, the test will fail. And I'm supposed to have. Yeah. So let's do that. So I'm just adding a function to get the state of this global snapshot. Takes self, returns a snapshot state. Alright. Oh, now it's fine, and I should have only one passing test. Alright, one passing, 11 failed, and now we are just going to try to unlock them one by one. Alright, so I'm in the for loop. I have a line. It seems that we have to unwrap the line, so I'm not entirely sure what could fail, but I'm assuming this is just an IO error. Maybe Josh, do you have an idea of what could fail here?
Yeah, so I think it's an IO error.
Yeah.
So what you probably want to do is you want to just map that to so Rust's standard library is designed to deal with sort of bizarre strange IO errors that might occur at any time.
Yeah, so just for the sake of the live stream, I'll just do that. That's probably not the best way. I could maybe wrap the standard IO inside, but just for the sake of the stream, I'll do that. So now we have a line. So we want to split the line. So we want to split the line according to our semicolon. So that would be something like that. Yeah, so this is returning an iterator or something like that, and I'm just going to collect all the items it's outputting into a collection. So I'm going to collect that in a vector of string. Alright, I'm going to call that tokens. So now what we can already validate is that if we have the right amount of fields, since we have one semicolon, we are supposed to have two fields. So we are supposed to have two elements in the tokens. If that's not the case, then we can already validate missing semicolon and extraneous semicolon. So if tokens.len is less than 2, then it means that return error missing semicolon. It means that we don't even have one semicolon. It should validate one of the tests. So we were at 1 and we are now at 2. So we are passing one more test. The other case is looking the same. So if we have more than 2 fields, it means that we have more than one semicolon. So we have an extraneous one. So now we should have 3 passing tests. Yes, indeed. All right, so now we have this vector. We have this vector of tokens, which are strings. The first one, so token 0 is supposed to contain the address, and token 1 is supposed to contain the balance. All right. So now I'm going to have a look at one of our RFCs. The ternary one. Yeah, so in this RFC we have a bunch of usual patterns, common patterns that you can do with tricks, and I'm interested in one that would convert this straight string into something like that. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. I want to collect all the chars of the string and make a trig buff out of it. So I'm going to do that. So that would be tokens 0. I'm not going to run that now. What's up? So I need to include that. Use trig and trig buff, and probably convert trig from. All right. What's up? This much. All right. So we are going to call that address. I'm not sure what's up with. What, did I miss something? Oh yeah, I did. All right. All right, this can probably fail. I assume it's failing, so I'm going to match that. So we can have an OK, and we can have an error. All right. So if it fails, if this part fails, it means that one of the character of the string wasn't actually a trig. So we can know in this branch, in the error branch, we can know that something was not a trig, so we can already return an error. And what was that again? Invalid address trig. All right, let's try. What was the previous score? 3. So that should be 4. And that's 4. 8 still. 4 passed, 8 failed. Alright, so now it means that in the OK branch we have some trigs, some valid trigs, and now we want to try to convert that to an address. So the address comes from the transaction crate. And we probably want to include the thread as well, the field thread. Oops. Alright. So what we want to do is to try to create an address. Try from inner. And that takes some treats in T1B1, so not the same encoding as the one we have now. So we want to encode these traits. These are actually traits, and now this API needs T1B1, so that's another encoding of treats. So we want to encode that. T1B1 buff, I assume. So I probably need that as well. And that's not working. Yeah, alright, so this can fail as well, so I have to match that. So it can be okay as well. Oops. And it can be an error as well. Alright, and no method named encode. Thanks. Yeah, so encode is on treats, so I have to have a treats representation of that. That's just taking the reference of the traits. So now it's working, and now we can check the length, because if this fails, since we already know the traits are valid, the only thing that can fail is the length of the address. So if we are in this error branch, it means that the length was bad. So invalid address length. So we were at 4 and now we should be at 5. Yep, 5 passed, 7 failed. And now we have a valid address, so we are just going to return it and get it there. Let address equal. Alright, we have an address. Address is valid, and now we are going to validate the balance. How do I do that? So tokens 1, it's supposed to be in token 1. There is a standard function called parse on the string API that tries to parse something. You give it as template parameter, so I want a U64. Let balance equal that. Oops. Alright. So many things can go wrong at this point as well, so we are going to have to match that as well. So it can be okay as well. It can be an error as well. Alright, so now if success, I'm just going to return the balance. If not success, so now I'm not sure about what parse is returning. Oops, parse rest. That's probably not what I want. Yeah, that's what I want. Alright, so it's a bit weird because it's a struct and not an enum. And it actually contains an enum. Alright, let's, as a start, let's make it simple. Just returning invalid balance in every case of failure. It should still promote some of the tests to passing. Yes, so we were at 5 and now we are at 6. What time is it? All right, we have an address, we have a balance, so we want to add that in the state. So state insert address and balance. So I have to declare it as mutable. All right. So maybe it should validate the valid case, because now we are actually adding stuff in the state, so it should trigger the equal to 3. So we should go to 7. Oh, interesting. We did not. Did I mess up valid? Looks good. Interesting. Wait. Let's comment all the tests except valid. Oh, file not found. Interesting. Ah, alright. Yeah, I messed up. So let's uncomment that. And 7. Alright, cool. Alright, we want to check the supply as well. So let's mute supply equals 0. Every time we insert, we want to increase the supply as well. Supply first equal the balance, and we want to check it as soon as possible, because as soon as it goes over the supply, since we can't have negative balance, we already know it's an error. So if it's different, no, if it's more than the supply, where is the supply? So if it's more, we are going to return a new error. Invalid supply. So we should go to 8. Yeah, 8 passed, 4 failed. So what's missing at this point? So we have why do we have invalid? Yeah, so alright, that's interesting. So we were expecting additional white space, but we are getting invalid address right, which is kind of the thing I explained a bit earlier. Additional white space. Yeah, so it's definitely not a trait. So I'm not sure we should check a specific case to say that it's a space. I think it's fine to consider that it's just an invalid trait. So I'm not going to expect additional white space, but I'm going to expect invalid address trait. So I don't think this one has any purpose as a specific enum variant. So it should be 9. Yeah, so 3 more. So we have different new line, we have negative balance and overflow. So let's have a look at different. For some reason I'm getting a none with this one, which means that Rust doesn't have any issue. So since I'm getting a none, it means that we are not getting an error. So it means that the parsing was fine. So it means that Rust doesn't care about the new lines. So that's good to know. I didn't know that, but that's not technically an issue. So we should not expect an error. We should just expect it to work. So I'm just going to do the same. Oops. What's up? Alright, so we should be 10. Yeah, 10. Then we only have 2 more errors. We have negative balance and we have overflow balance. I have a feeling that we won't be able to do negative balance because since we are expecting a U64, the negative sign, the minus, should not even be considered as a valid character for this. Josh, do you know that?
So yeah, it shouldn't even be a valid character. It should just produce an error if it hits that.
Yeah, but I have no way of specifically understanding that it was negative. I just
Right.
Yeah, so I can't even check if it was negative. That's just an invalid character for Rule 64.
What you could do is pass it as a U64 and then as an I64 or something, but that's a bit of a hack, really.
Yeah, we should probably not do that just for the sake of the test.
To be honest, I think it just makes sense to report it as an invalid balance regardless.
Yeah, I think so. I can keep the test.
You might also want to take into account that passing a U64, I think, will accept different formats. So it might accept a hex format. So that might be worth checking for.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. And is there a way? I mean, I don't know if there is a function to just check in base 10. Because
let me check that.
I definitely don't want to allow hexadecimals balance. But yeah, but I didn't know that. But let's have a try. Where is valid distance? So let's just take a balance, convert that. So input base equal 10. Output base equals 16, and that would be.
So
let's have a look.
I just took a look at the docs, and it only accepts base 10, so that's fine.
Oh, all right. Well, I was testing anyway. How do I exit that? Yeah, it doesn't pass. Well, all right. That's nice then. Yeah, so I'm going to keep the test, the negative balance, but it won't report negative balance, it will report invalid balance. So I'm not sure we need negative balance. Yeah. What's up now? So I see Daniel writing something. There is more problem with U64 for Western consumers. Yeah, probably right. So that's 11 passed, 1 failed, and that's the overflow. Interesting. So the thing is that if I look at the error, percent error, so the error is public, but it has a private member kind, integer kind, which itself is an enum. I'm not sure why it's designed this way. Maybe you know about it, Joshua. I'm not sure why it's not the enum itself.
I don't actually know. I'm sure there was historically a reason.
Well, the thing that is annoying is that there is a public method to get the kind, but it's unstable. So if I don't use it, I'm not able to have access to the actual enum, so that's a bit weird.
Could you scroll up a second? One moment.
Sure.
Let me just.
Well, there is an issue, so Rust. Maybe I can check the issue quickly.
I imagine it'll be something like the actual parsing system still being unstable.
So the only way, yeah, so they are basically having the exact same issue as me. Yeah. Ooh, that sounds bad. Ooh. That's ugly. They're actually comparing the string to check if that's the error. Wow. That's bad. All right. Yeah, so it seems that it's currently unstable. I'm not sure what I can do in the meantime. That's a bit annoying because they do have the thing I want. They do have the overflow variant. Mhm. But with the current state of the...
As an alternative, you could write your own parser because it basically only accepts individual digits, doesn't it? So you could write your own fairly quickly and
Yeah, sure.
just check that it doesn't exceed the maximum value of a U64.
Yeah, but
It's a bit
yeah,
annoying, generally, actually.
yeah, it's a bit annoying, and I don't know if if we really want to do that just to be able to report overflow.
Mm.
I think I would prefer to rely on the standard parse, but just reports invalid balance as well. I don't think we have to be that granular anyway.
So it looks like there was a pull request for this. Do
Is it mentioned here? Hello, my...
Yeah, it's mentioned
Oh yeah, it
in
is.
the
Oh yeah, but that's probably the one that introduced the unstable feature.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, well, it's been merged, and yeah, so that's exactly the code we are looking at.
In that case, uh,
Mm.
I mean, it's up to you really. Which one do you want to go for? Do you want to
Yeah,
use the unstable feature or just report passing error or an invalid value error?
I think I'm going to report invalid balance as well.
Right.
I don't think it makes much sense to use unstable or to do our own parsing just for that. If it's invalid, it's invalid. I mean,
Mm.
the error on the balance should be easily catchable anyway, if there is one. So yeah, so I'm just going to do that.
Yeah, that's fair.
And then remove overflow. Yeah, everything should pass. Yeah, it does.
Great.
Maybe, so this is not used. Yeah, so
I think
it's...
you're almost exactly to the hour.
Yeah, what time is it? It is, all right, 55. So yeah, just to sum up, that's a very easy parsing because the format itself is really simple. So, but yeah, I think it really showcases Rust ability to nest some match, to have something really nice, I think, to read, and very concise as well. So yeah, that's a very short piece of code to parse this format. So yeah, not sure what I can do more. I'm not sure I'm able to think about any kind of other errors. Maybe someone in the chat is able to tell us more about an error we would have forget about. Otherwise, that's nearly the end of the stream, so that's 5 minutes, so maybe we can take some questions in the chat. The supply could be too low. Yeah, but oh yeah, indeed it could. Yeah, it could. Yeah, so initially I did that so that we quit the parsing as soon as we detect that it's greater than that, so that we don't have to parse the complete file, but it could actually be less. Yeah. So I think to make it a bit more simple, I'm just going to make it different. And let's have a test. Yeah, nice catch. Nice catch. Invalid supply more. And invalid supply less. Oops. So I changed that name. Invalid supply more. Oops. Alright, and copy paste valid. Rename. Invalid supply less. Oops. And let's maybe remove a 1 there. Let's see. Yep, all good. Yeah, nice catch. Any more maybe? Another one? Joshua, Alex, maybe you see another error in the file, or?
I can't see anything in particular.
Yeah, I think we covered most of the stuff that could happen in this format.
I mean, we're being sort of conservative with parsing constraints. So, given those constraints, I don't think there's any more.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any more wiggle room, really.
Yeah, I really can't think of any more.
I mean, the next thing to do would be to optimize it, I guess. But
Yeah.
that's probably out of the scope of the last minute in this live stream.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that now. But I mean, most of the parsing is actually just converting from traits to treats, so that's probably most of the bottleneck here. So if we wanted to improve the parsing itself, that's probably where it is, I guess.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, 2 more minutes, so maybe someone has questions in the chat. Or any suggestions or feedback for the next week. Yeah, the fact that I did that in a test-driven development way was suggested by someone in the community, so that's a really nice idea and a really nice suggestion. So if you guys have something like that, or a request, or something you would want to see us doing in the next live, please feel free to feel free to request in the big channels on Discord. The O in file not found should be small. Is it big? Really? Yeah, it is. Yeah, nice catch. Yeah, cool. File not found. And cool. Right. I'm just going to commit that. Alright. Global snapshot parsing. Alright. That's a new feature done. Cool. And that's also the end of the stream, so yep, thanks for joining. 22 people live, that's nice. And see you next week for the 5th episode of Rust live coding session with the big team. Thank you very much for joining, and see you next week.
See you later.
Bye guys. Thanks for watching.
Cheers.
Cheers.